in Wake Up Money now, getting a loan is a lot harder now because of tightening credit markets. So some parents may find themselves in a position to help other family members with money, maybe even their own children. But is this ever a good idea? Well, certified public accountant Bob Martin is back with some advice.
Good morning,
Good
Sabila.
morning to you. So, when I was thinking about this segment, I'm thinking, Shakespeare once said, neither a borrower nor a lender be. But sometimes with family members, it gets really complicated. You want to help.
You want to help, and sometimes you almost need to help. You have children that are starting out. They may not have a credit history, or they may be facing exorbitant interest rates when they're starting out. And so it can be a good situation if you have responsible children.
Yeah, and you say that it can be a good situation, but you also have to set some guidelines. So let's talk about those guidelines. I think the first one you say is weigh the merits of the loan.
Right. You shouldn't just be loaning money to pay off prior credit card debt. There should be something solid in the transaction. For example, you may help them try to buy a car or maybe toward the purchase of a home. Some asset that would have value if something went wrong.
You also say very important to look at your child's history.
Right. If your child's been irresponsible in the past, if they've run up a tremendous amount of credit card debt, they may not be a good loan risk. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I warn people about, do not risk your retirement money unless you can afford to lose it, basically.
And how do you determine if this is bad judgment or just maybe bad luck on your child's part?
Well, you've had 20 years or so to see what the history is, and you might start out small. Maybe help them out with a car loan or maybe even something smaller than that, some type of consumer purchase. Mm-hmm. If that works out, maybe you work up to something larger.
That's great advice. Also, you say put the loan in writing.
Yes, definitely. You've got to take the emotion out of it. You should keep it on a business basis. I know it's very difficult. And if you're talking about a very large loan, you should probably get a lawyer to draw it up. We have a community property state, and even though you may be loaning the money to one married child, you're also automatically giving that value to their community property spouse in many cases.
But if it's something very small, I would imagine just a piece of paper.
Right, just a letter of understanding.
Also, I would imagine that you want to set up a reasonable schedule.
Yes, you should have a reasonable payment schedule that they can fulfill, and this may be building into something else. A family loan can be a good deal because parents are sometimes earning 1 or 2% on money markets, and their children could have been paying, 8, 10, 12% interest. So there could be some interest rate that they could arrive at, which would be a win-win.
That's what I was going to ask you. But should you always charge interest? I mean, because in a way, they can actually learn from that, right?
Well, I think it's a good idea. I mean, if you didn't loan the money to them, you'd be earning interest on it. And so I think it's reasonable to charge interest.
All right. Well, Bob, when you think about it, I mean, it's a good thing. But some people, I'm sure, are still thinking, am I ever going to get my money back?
Right.
Yeah.
And, if that's the case, you should consider other options. Maybe co-signing on a loan, but that can be as bad as just loaning the money directly and not getting it back. So you have to be very, very careful.
Well, these are some really great tips. And being a mother of a 7-year-old, I know what to do if we ever get to that point. Thank you so much, Bob. All right, great to see you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.